I told you you didn't need me to sum up, Danilo. Why? Because I knew that, and then like, did you hear that? And they clapped, and Slava Ukraini and everything. Yes, and now, what am I going to say? So I am going to use, the fact that I am physically present to try to leave something of an impression, because I don't think that there's anything that hasn't been said. I can probably predict who said what to you. Did James Apathrai tell you that there needs to be more NATO in Ukraine and more Ukraine in NATO? Did he say that? Yeah, right? I wasn't even here. Did Olya Stefanishina tell you that they've got a very solid annual national program and tight work with the Rada to pass all the legislation that's needed, and about all the times she's been to Brussels? Yeah. I'm sure that Ivana Klimpush-Sinsadze told you about all the work that they did to get ready, and you wouldn't be where you are today, right? So what am I going to tell you? Let me first tell you how lucky you are. That you have this, that you have the opportunity to gather in person, that you have been given the opportunity through the generosity of many people and through their connections to have direct contact with the people who are leading your country and the people who are advocating for your country, the push and the pull. And you have you've spent the day learning and arming yourselves to be part of that journey to NATO membership for Ukraine. And possibly even more, if you believe what the last speaker just said. You have been given an opportunity to learn and to delve deeper into not just Ukraine joining NATO, but Ukraine being a leader in NATO. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think you're super lucky. I think I'm lucky to be invited here. It's my son's birthday. My oldest son is 24. And I feel like it would have been a crappy day if I didn't have an opportunity to interact with young people, because I find you all so incredibly inspiring, and that you would sit here and do this. So it's Friday afternoon, and you're exhausted, right? You don't need any of my pizzumke. But one of the things that I would like to get something from you, and it needs to be something that comes to the top of your head very quickly, so you shouldn't have to think about it deeply. It should just be a reaction. As I talk about, as NATO Contact Point Embassy, as Canada and all that kind of stuff, as I talk with people at all levels all over the country, I'm not sure anymore what resonates. What's the message that Ukrainians want to hear? Okay, I know they want to hear that membership action plan is given. Okay. What gives you the right and positive feeling when you hear it? What was something that you heard today that makes you feel, yes, okay, that's the message? Sovereignty. The idea that you need to be working for your own sovereignty, building your own country. Good, so that's a good line, I can use it? Excellent. Wow, that's very cool. And that day will come. That day will come. Ще що, можете по-українськи також, якщо не хочете? You can do it. Yeah, that's an amazing message that you have, especially from some of your closest neighbors. And I find it incredibly powerful, like when the three foreign ministers from the Baltic countries came a couple of months ago, and they walked into Ukraine together, came here together. What a powerful show of confidence in Ukraine. What else? Real democracy in Ukraine? Yeah. Do people tell you that you have real democracy in Ukraine? I think that they should. I think that they should. Looking at not just elections, but you know what? It's not easy these days to conduct elections, not even in countries that have had them for many, 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 many decades. And Ukraine is running elections, doing elections, engaging in elections, picking, transferring power. Ukraine is doing that really, really well. What did you say? A free society. Oh, do you want to say that again?
Okay, sorry. I said about free society and about possibility to do what you want without any discrimination or stereotypes. So I think it's also a possibility for our society when we become a part of European Union and NATO.
And a lot of the journey to NATO is about putting in place into law the principles and the values that were exactly the reason NATO was created. NATO wasn't created to be a military alliance for the sake of having a military alliance. What brought NATO together were the principles, those values of human rights, freedom, democracy, liberal democratic markets, liberal markets. And the rule of law. There you go. So if you read Article 2 of the NATO of the NATO Charter, that's the Canadian article because a Canadian had the idea that that actually should be in there to remind allies why they entered into this sometimes very difficult group together. And made this commitment to each other and bound themselves to each other, because these values and the principles that each one of you want, the values and the principles that now that were out on Maidan, that are in your constitution and everywhere in between, you feel it walking the streets of Kyiv. That was worth fighting for. It was worth organizing for, it was worth spending money on, it was worth the compromise and worth the hard work of keeping that alliance going. So that's at the heart of NATO. One more. What about the Constitution of Ukraine? The fact that it's in the Constitution, that's really, really, really important. I think it is, without that there, I think that there would be more discussion internally about whether, and that is the best argument you can hand your foes, not even your foes, just those who don't have enough energy to fight for you. It's the best argument you can hand to them is, look, they don't even know what they want. And when that got put into the Constitution, it was like written in stone. That's what you want. So it's incredibly powerful. All right, so now, what am I going to tell you? One thing that I find is that sometimes we look too much to the external for validation. This goes to your sovereignty point. And it goes to the desperation that I hear from leaders who say, we need to be mentioned in the speech, we need to be in the communique, we need to be invited to the party. That external validation, I get it. But I think the message that I would want to leave with you is that you are an historic generation of Ukrainians. And you can do it for yourselves. I don't think you have grown up looking for that external validation. I think that you have been around and experienced the world and see what others have done for themselves and understand that you can do that for yourself. So, and that's an important part of the walk, the journey to NATO membership, is doing it for yourself. you're going to leave today, and your heads will be full, and not everything will register, and that's okay. But some things will. And those things, leverage them. Let them move you to the next step. Let them move you to ask a next tough question to a decision maker. Let them move you to decide what courses you're going to study, or where you might apply to work, or what risk you might take with your life in order to move your country forward on that path. Why do I think that everything will be okay? 3 reasons. Because you've heard a lot of really difficult things. I mean, the discussion about China and Russia and the state of the world. Did anybody talk about ecology and climate change? I mean, the crises that we're facing and the big questions that need to be resolved are just legion. Like, let's just go for drinks. Why will everything be okay? First, because countries like Canada really, really care about Ukraine and the fate of Ukrainians. And I would put into that category the United States, Baltics. You hear how that guy talked? Like, he's passionate about Ukrainian sovereignty and membership in the EU and NATO. You have that in your neighbors. You have that in Canada. And for that means that we, in the Alliance, keep the discussion about degrees and not direction. We were talking earlier, and I'm going to give you the credit for this point. The reason that all of the politics around the summit are being calibrated so carefully, the reason that we have to take care is so that there is a next step for Ukraine. Because there's some who don't want that next step, potentially. There are a lot of forces working out there. But you've got Canada, you've got the Baltics, you've got all kinds of allies who are talking about the degrees and speed, not direction. In the same way that it's enshrined in your constitution, it is enshrined in the DNA of the discussions and in Brussels, and we're closer to those these days than we normally are because these are really, really important calibrations. The second reason that everything is going to be okay is that you've got all of the ingredients for things to be okay. You've got the push from Ukraine, you've got the pull from allies, you've got all the tools, all the practical mechanisms that NATO makes available to aspiring countries. Ukraine has them. You have the people who want to do it. You've got young people who are learning, who will bring energy to that cause. The full цілий склад існує. It's there. And then the third reason is because of you. Because Ukrainian youth are not average. The previous speaker said, don't be average. There's nothing average about you. Nothing. And again, your devotion of this day to learn, to be led in thought, to consider is admirable. It's an investment that you've made in yourself. It's an investment that you're making in the future of your country. You're showing that you care. Just keep doing that, and everything is going to be okay because the full list of ingredients is there, and at the top of your list of friends, you will always be able to count on Canada. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bravo.